Hey guys, this is Adrian here with another release. We're going to release Avo 2.10 and we have a couple of things to talk about. So let's jump in. First of all, tiny refactor. We are using the same component for the resource edit and resource new. There's nothing you should be worried about. The next to the bug fixes, a hard-coded policy action called on resource edit component. So thank you so much for seeing this, Lewis. Yes, just what the title mentions, it was a hard-coded policy action and that's fixed now. Next is model class with encryption broken. So what happened was when you were using active encryption from Rails, you couldn't declare the model class on a resource as a class because it did some kind of calculations, and because the app wasn't up and running, it would throw an error. So now we changed that so we can use the model class as a string. So that's much better now. Next is date field format in mobile browsers. Thank you so much, hassyyy, for this. So what happens is, I'm going to show you how it looks regularly. So whenever you have a date or datetime field, we use flat picker, which is a nicer date picker than the browser one. And whenever you would go on a flat picker page and would browse it using a mobile device, it would get disabled. So that's by default. The authors of flat picker said that the mobile device gives you a better interface to change the date. And that may be true, that may not be true, doesn't matter. But we added a flag, disable mobile true, where you can have the same flat picker experience on mobile devices as well. So now I loaded this page as an iPhone user, and now I have this flat picker available for me. Cool, so this looks better. Nice. Next, key value field for new create. What happened was, so I'm gonna go into a project. If you go on edit, if you have a key value field, you'll have this plus icon here, where it will add new fields on the new rows on this key value field. But whenever you would go into create view, into new view, you wouldn't get that that button. So this is not good, and this is fixed now in the latest release. Next, Dimitri, thank you so much for this. Dimitri contributed with the French translation for Avo, so have a look at that. And next, the biggest feature, something that I know everybody's been waiting for. It fixes so many issues, but it also brings some nice things to Avo. So tabs and panels. Let me show you a little bit on how they work. I'm gonna close this one. I'm gonna go to the user resource, and I am going to comment a lot of these things out. So I'm gonna start with the tool. And then comment everything out until here. So now if I go to a user, let me just take this out as well. So now I have a rather small resource that where I can manage users. So I can see the ID, I have a heading, user information, I have first name, last name, user, email, and is active. But maybe I want to move these kinds of this information into something else. Next, what I'm going to do is going to start building a panel. So panel do, and I'm going to move these fields inside, and I'm going to kill this. So now when I refresh, you'll see these fields have now moved to their own panel. But I can make this even better. So I can name the panel user information, and this will show up here. And I can do something even better, description, some information about the user. And that description will show below. So this will look the same as the one above. Cool. And now if I go back and I'll enable this tool, I'll enable these fields. These are has one fields, has many, has and belongs to many. And now if I refresh the page, you'll see that the page has become quite taller. So it's very big. And not only that, but when I refresh the page, you'll see a lot of turbo frames have loaded. So there's a lot of strain on the app while it's loading this page. And maybe we only need one piece of information. We don't want to load everything up. Now we can do something really cool. So I'll take these these blog related fields. I'm going to go below and say tabs do, and I'm just going to drop them in. And now when I refresh the page, you'll see this new section. Let me close this. You'll see this new section with the main post, the posts, and the comments. So all of these fields that I just dropped inside the tabs, they are now into one section. And let me do the same thing for the others. So the teams, the people, I'll take them from here and create another tab group. So tabs do, and drop them in. And now on refresh, now the page is considerably smaller. Not only that, but if I have a look at the network panel, you'll see fewer things loading. So it will load this turbo frame, main post, and this team's turbo frame. So it's doing that and not straining the app. It's not hitting our endpoints when maybe we just want one piece of information. Now, if I click on one tab, you'll see the turbo frame loading. Same for comments. So we're going to load them on demand instead of when we just load the full page. But maybe we want to make this even better. So let me just take some fields. So first name and last name, and move them into tabs. And now they have their own tab. So first name and last name, but maybe we don't want that. We want them grouped into one panel. So I'm going to do tab do and move them inside. Now I'm going to have an error because every time I create a tab, I have to give it a name. So I'll say user information, and let me just comment this out. Now when I reload, I see the user information tab with the fields that I wanted, but they are very ugly. They're unstyled. That's because they are not in a panel. So now I'm going to do that, panel do, and move them inside. And now I have user information, main post. So now they look even better. I can do something more like description. Hey. And now on reload, whenever I hover, I get the description as a tooltip. And what else? All the fields that mostly the has fields, so the has one, has many, has and belongs to many, they have their own panel. So they are bringing their own like panel thingy with them. So the teams, everything. So they don't need to sit inside the tab, inside the panel. Tabs is smart enough to get the name for that field and create a tab for them. You can also move tools inside them. So user tool, I'll add this in the beginning. So I need to use tab do and add this tool. Cool. So now I have the user tool and then the user information and so on. I agree this can be optimized a little bit, but this is just a beta launch. This is the open beta for the tabs, and we'll optimize it going forward. So we can make this a little bit smarter to realize that this tool maybe has a panel and we don't need to use a tab in here. One thing to have in mind, I told you that these tabs are not loaded up front whenever on the show page, but when you go on the edit page, that's a different story. We load them ahead of time. So I'm going to refresh and you'll see the posts and the people. So this is the posts and the people, but the post hasn't been opened yet, but it has loaded. So we do that because in some tabs, you might have information that you want to submit when you hit save. And if we would use regular turbo frames and not load those fields whenever we hit save, so after we load the page, if we hit save, these fields, first and last name, wouldn't exist on the page. So we load them beforehand and keep them hidden. So you can safely hit the save button and have that information present for you. Cool. So this is tabs. So let's go to the docs. You'll have a documentation page with everything we talked about, with screenshots, with code snippets and everything you need. Oh, there's one more thing. So one thing that we haven't talked about. When we go to the user page, on the index page, you'll only see some fields. So we will only see the fields that have been declared en route. So only these fields right here. So you see the ID, the email, and active. ID, email, and is active. You won't see any fields from the tabs or the panels. Then that's by design, because this is a presentation for the show and edit views, and it would be a little bit tricky to have this working with the index page. So if you want something from the panel, something hidden from the panel or the tabs, you just have to like move it, deduplicate it, move it, and say only on index. And now you'll have first name on index. And then if you go inside, you will not see it on the default panel because it's hidden. But you will see it inside the panel or the tab you have selected it. Cool. So that's about it. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to see what you're going to build with tabs. We did something else. So I published a tiny guide on the release schedule. You'll find it in our GitHub repo under release MD. And this talks a little bit about the release schedule. I've updated it to release every 2 weeks. So whenever we release a minor version, so from 2.9 for 2.10 or 2.10 to 2.11, we do it every 2 weeks. That's easier for me because every time I do a release, it takes a lot of time to record this video and write the documentation and everything else. And I'd rather spend that time making Avo a little bit better. Then I outlined a little bit about patch releases and pre-releases, and you should come in and check this out. Looking forward for your feedback. Please come into our GitHub repo and leave your feedback and ideas and issues if you have any. And thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.